Today we're going to be working on a 2002 Pontiac Grand Am SE with a 2.2 liter Ecotec engine. We're going to be replacing the upper radiator hose, which looks to be a piece of cake. We're going to be replacing the lower radiator hose, which doesn't look bad down in there. It goes over here to the overflow tank. That's not bad. The only hiccup is down here where it connects to the radiator. That's a little hard to get to. We might end up pulling that battery out and seeing if we can remove the plate that holds the battery to gain some access. While we're at it, we're going to replace the two heater hoses that go from the engine to the heater core and from the heater core back to the engine. Each of those is a slightly different hose, so different part numbers. For the lower radiator hose, it's a Daco. There's the part number. Upper radiator hose, there's the part number. Not sure the manufacturer, not sure if that's a Daco or not. And then for the heater hoses, that's a Gates. And the other heater hose, again a Gates, different part number. The two heater hoses are definitely different shapes. Underneath the car, right behind here's the air conditioner condenser, radiator behind that. There's a plastic trim piece held on by two of these clips. I'm going to remove that. I think I can get some access then to get to the clamp for that lower radiator hose connection to the radiator. These clamps are kind of tough to get off. I'm not sure why they went with such a heavy-duty clamp on just a little piece of plastic, but that's the way it is. Just keep unscrewing them. I've got channel locks and I'm just keep working on it. Alright, well, didn't want to come out real easy, not a big deal, but 5 minutes later, that's out. Got the other side loose, flipped it out of the way. Now at least you can see some daylight down below. Let's go ahead and get it up on ramps, see if we can get any access from the bottom. Got it up on ramps, got it in park brake on, jack stands underneath, and chock the back wheel. Safety first. It's always a good idea to do a little sanity check, make sure that the hose that you got at the parts store or online looks like it's going to fit. This lower hose looks like a match. This upper hose, you know, I put it down in here and kind of matched it up, and I'm like, to start with, this thing's like 6 inches too long. Went back and checked online, and it does mention cut to fit, so at that point, if I kind of match it up down there, I can kind of bend it up there, and it looks like I'll have to cut off, you know, a good 6 inches. So not every hose that you buy is an exact fit. Sometimes you got to cut them. On the driver's side of the radiator bottom, there is a petcock. Looks like they got a pretty good system set up where you turn that valve and it comes out that hole. Only problem is when I turn that valve, nothing comes out. I've tried sticking a wire up there, no luck. So I may have to just do the best I can at draining through a hose. Nothing coming out. On the driver's side bottom of the radiator, there is a petcock, and it appears if you give that a turn, the radiator fluid should come out that hole. Only problem is I turned it, nothing came out. I've tried sticking a wire up there. Nothing's coming out, so I'm just going to have to take the hose off and let it drain that way. Alright, earlier I said the upper radiator hose was going to be a piece of cake. Of course, it's proven me wrong. I hate these kind of clamps. I got on it, I squeezed it, it kind of rolled down on me, and now I can't get my pliers around it to squeeze it. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this radiator hose right here. That'll drain it. Then get that hose out of the way. Then I think I can get to that clamp and squeeze it and get it off. Got this little saw here. It's pretty sharp. It's for cutting holes in drywall. Just going to come down in here and cut it off right past the radiator piece. Just let that drain for a while. Alright, we've got that cut off. Now we'll just take it off up here. Then we should have some pretty good access to get that clamp and the remainder of that hose off the radiator. This clamp for the upper connection was in a good location, so it's pretty easy to squeeze it, get it moved back. Now they do make what they call a hose pick, kind of like a bent ice pick. Allows you to get under that radiator hose and kind of work your way around, get it off. I don't have one, so we're just going with a handy screwdriver, utility knife, whatever it takes, get that baby off of there. Once you've got that clamp moved back out of the way, go ahead and grab it with the channel locks. And then you can usually get it to start wiggling, get it broken loose, and then you can work it out of there. Okay, just a little tip. First of all, I hate these clamps. If you can get straight on them, great. If not, it's a pain. This particular one, I grabbed it, it slipped down on me. I couldn't get my pliers on it. I tried above, below. I've taken the transmission cooler line off. I've done everything. Finally, I knew I had moved the clamp. So I got some penetrating oil and I squirted all over the clamp. I went down below and I was able to get a pry bar on the clamp and get it to be spun back around to where I could grab it with the channel locks and get the dang thing off. But boy, never say it's going to be a piece of cake. That's the kiss of death. Alright. Once you get the hose off, you're going to want to feel all the way around, make sure it feels smooth and there's no chunks of hose left on there. If you need to kind of lightly buff it, you can. I don't have a problem with that kind of clamp up where you can get to them real easy, but definitely down here we've gone with the screwdriver clamp. Okay, getting ready to work on the what would be the lower radiator hose, and I've taken the battery out to get a little bit better access to this clamp. But another situation where I really hate these things, you know, I just really can't figure out how to get onto that clamp. Underneath doesn't work, up above it's hard to get to. I'm going to try my trick with spraying it with some penetrating oil and see if I can get it to spin around up towards the top here by prying from underneath. Alright, from below now, I can see the clamp up there. Not great access, so we'll give it a try, see if we can squeeze that and get it to back up. Alright, I was lucky enough to get that clamp to spin around. Again, squirted it with some penetrating oil, got underneath, took my pry bar and pushed really hard on that end. That loosens it, and then it would slide around, spin around basically. For a pry bar, I was using my serpentine belt tool. Just practically pulling the engine out here, but whatever you can do to make it easier. I've taken this intake air tube out of the way. Gives a little better access to that clamp down in here. So I think I can get this one. We'll see. To get that intake air tube off, just pop this intake air temperature sensor loose, get it out of the way, no big deal. I'm starting to think somebody at the factory takes joy in turning these clamps to just the optimal bad position. In this case, there's this tube that gets in the way. It makes it really hard, so I'm going to try and get that clamp to spin a little bit for me. Same tricks. What I'm going to try here is I've taken a coat hanger, hooked it in there, and now I think I can pull pretty hard on this coat hanger and maybe get that clamp to spin or to loosen up a little bit. Took some pretty hard pulling, but I got it to spin around. Okay, I got the clamp loose and back off. Same thing for this one down in here, at least, is there it is. Got it back off, so twist that out of the way. There is one screw, one bolt right there. Then that goes on up to your reserve tank, and just pop it off right there. Again, continuing with the full disassembly of the vehicle to change a radiator hose, I'm going to loosen these two screws here, get this battery holder out of the way, then I think I can twist and pull on that hose a little better. Okay, there's actually 3 bolts holding that battery tray in, and that should give me great access now to pull that off. It's not a bad idea to clean that thing out. It's pretty corroded with battery acid and so on, so good time to do that. And to kind of clean out and maybe coat this area, which is pretty corroded from battery acid. Once you get the old one out, lay the new one right beside it. Then you can transfer over some things like that protective tubing that goes over, and then that one clamp that has a bolt going to the engine. Transfer those things over, slide it back in. As you take the old one out, kind of note, where it was, which things it went in between on the way out. Actually, the hoses come off the radiator really easy because it's plastic. The ones that are connected to the engine that go onto a metal fitting, those are a little tougher. There's the one to the engine. You're going to want to just lightly buff that off, make sure there's no pieces of hoses stuck on it. When I got this hose here hooked to the block and then put down onto the radiator, this little section here had kind of a kink. It was just getting bent too tight, had a kink like in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a little bit off of here, and then I'll allow that to be not kinked. Okay, cut off about that much, and then that hose went in there without a kink in this area. We'll get these hose clamps tightened up. We got that bolt reinstalled down there. We got the tube slid over, the protective tube slid over, and we've got it reconnected to the overflow reservoir. Got the battery holder pan put back in place here. Tighten those 3 screws. Alright, I've got the upper and lower radiator hoses replaced, and I've had about as much fun as I can handle for a day, so I'm putting off these heater hoses until a later date. So for now, let's go ahead and put some antifreeze mixture back in here, get it filled back up, and we'll battle the heater hoses another day.